I've always been totally fascinated by stories about startup businesses and the entrepreneurs who make them happen. Listening to podcasts and reading articles, I love hearing how the ideas are born and how they're turned into successful businesses. Today's guest makes it sound all so simple. After a career in journalism followed by time with a fashion startup, Nathalie Gibbins left the world of full-time work to become a mum, and that's when she decided the time was right to do her own thing. I was introduced to Nathalie by my dad after he told me about her business Pow Pots, and I was pretty much hooked by the story straight away. Pow Pots is that inspired idea that has quickly become a growing business. Bringing up her daughter Beatrice and bringing up her other baby Pow Pots at the same time, Nathalie's story is an inspiration for every budding entrepreneur, and it's a privilege to be able to share it with you on One of the Eight.
The main point I want to do with my pots is just bring joy into people's homes and lives. I want people to look at them and it make them feel happy. And I think colour is a great way of doing that.
I'm Jake Worley, and this is One of the Eight, bringing you the real life stories of real world people, the things they have achieved and the things that have inspired them. Hi guys, for this instalment of the One of the Eight podcast, I'm joined by the creator and founder of Pow Pots, a contemporary alternative to traditional plant pots. So starting a business is notoriously quite a challenging venture to take on. So imagine pairing that with the arrival of your firstborn child at the same time. I'm keen to learn more about what led Nathalie Gibbins to start Pow Pots and the impact that motherhood has had on her business and life. So Nathalie, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So to help us understand a little bit about what led you to the point you're at now, it'd be good to know a little bit about where your career began.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it began what feels like a very long time ago in London. So I studied journalism at university, and then I moved to London after that to pursue a career in that. And I started off on a commercial magazine called Cosmetics International, and that kind of set me up for a career for many years in beauty and travel and health journalism across lots of the women's titles and newspapers. So I ended up, after doing a year on that magazine, I ended up freelancing and having quite a number of regular pages in the likes of Now. I helped with the health section of a supplement that came out with the Mirror called M Magazine, which is defunct now, but was quite exciting at the time. And had a fantastic time. I got into travel journalism, which enabled me to travel to some places I would never have gone to otherwise. And again, on the health front, I did a lot of adventure travel writing and health writing on that front for magazines such as a Zest magazine, which again, another defunct title, but was a very inspiring women's health and fitness title.
Where did the travel take you?
Oh gosh, where did I go? I went to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
We did a helicopter trip over the volcanoes of Hawaii.
Wow.
I went to a Jack Johnson concert, stayed in a fabulous hotel. I've been to Newfoundland. I was trained up to go kayaking with whales, although there were no whales on the day that we actually went out, unfortunately. I went to Serbia, where I actually had a boat accident and broke my collarbone. So
no.
Yeah, that was something
How
to remember.
How did that happen?
Oh, it was... to be honest, I had broken my collarbone 6 months before skiing, and I'd literally just been signed out of the hospital 3 days before going on this trip. But we went, it was a group of journalists to do a travel piece on Belgrade, and then we were also taken into the countryside to a place. Oh, it was the Drina River, I do believe. I can't remember the name of the town. And on this Drina River, it was a lovely sunny day, and we had a regatta. So there was lots of boats. Kind of what do you call those boats, like a dinghy with a heart, like a rib boat, going down this quite fast flowing stream, with Bosnia on one side and Serbia on the other, and all the houses on the Bosnian side were still burnt out, so it was quite an interesting trip on many fronts, from a history and war perspective to more modern day of the travel element they were pushing. And our boat basically just got sucked into these rapids that were in the middle of the river. Everyone else was going either side, and we just got sucked into this rapidy bit in the middle. and a boat behind us also got sucked in, and a boat in front of us got sucked in. So we ended up like a boat sandwich, and our boat just got snapped in two, and we all jumped out the boat, got thrown out, and then washed down this very fast flowing river. So we then got picked out by various Serbian boats. No one could speak English. We obviously couldn't speak the local lingo, and I had a broken collarbone and had lost my group. Anyway, we eventually found each other. Because I think I'd broken it 6 months before, I kind of knew what to expect. But yeah, that ended up in a little trip to quite a still water and Serbian hospital, and an X-ray and a cast, and another 6 months of recuperation when I got back to the UK.
And did you manage to get the article done?
Oh yes, I did. So got that piece done, and didn't actually mention the collarbone because it was just a bit of an unfortunate accident, really, and quite an adventure, one that I still love to recount to this day. So,
have you've done a little bit of presenting as well, I believe?
Yeah, a little bit. So basically, from all my health and beauty and travel, I eventually went into fashion journalism. Well, in fact, actually, before that, I launched a magazine for Superdrug called Dare.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So that was sort of my first, after I stopped freelancing, that was my first editor's job. And for that, we had to do a bit of presenting. So that was sort of my first dabble with it. And then from there, I did go into fashion. And when they launched Very, which is part of the Little Wiz group, it was about getting a younger customer online and away from the catalogues. We created a magazine for Very to kind of inspire customers to go shopping. So it was a lovely magazine. It had a great budget. We could create everything on our own photography. And for that, we also did an online piece where I had to present what the issue was. So I remember one in particular, we did it on the London Eye.
Oh, wow.
So I had I think it was a 30-second rotation to get set up, do it, get it right, and land again. So for that I did a bit of presenting, and then also I then worked on Little Bat Dress. I moved up to Manchester and worked on an e-commerce startup called littlebатdress.co.uk, and for that also we did some presenting, advising women how to dress for occasion wear, and I loved it, and actually it's something I would probably like to do more of if the opportunity ever arose. But yeah, good fun.
So it sounds like from your media-based career, it's something you would recommend to other people? Is it something you think, if you're slightly interested, go for it?
Oh, absolutely. I think, today, just prepping a bit to do this podcast with you, it's been a nice time to sit back and kind of reflect on it all. And do you know what? That's exactly what I was thinking, that I was really lucky to fall into that in a way. And I was good at English, but didn't really know what I wanted to do. But actually, it can give you, you're just learning all the time, even if it's, not hardcore news, or, if it's nicer subjects, as we were just saying, like travel or fashion, or, you meet very interesting people. It's a lovely mix of for what I find, a desk job and getting out of the office and meeting people and learning different things. And it can just give you lots of opportunity to explore lots of different areas, I think. So I would highly recommend it. If people are interested in that. Okay.
I mean, it's given my age and my circumstances in life at the moment, that I'm, relatively fresh out of university, and I feel surrounded by a lot of people who leave university equally as lost as kind of before they went. I think it's good to hear that, you've kind of thought, I'm not 100% confident with my English, but I'll give it a go. And you kind of figure out the route as to what it is that you might like or not like.
Well, I don't know if things have changed since I was at school, but you were kind of, career advice didn't really exist. It was more like, okay, you're good at languages, so this is kind of what you could go into. But outside of that, you kind of have to just feel your way. And it's life, isn't it? I suppose it just takes you on its journey, and we've all got plans for certain things, and maybe it takes you a little off route from that. But if you can have, a general plan, I think journalism or presenting or anything that involves kind of lifestyle, magazines or getting out there, it can be very, very satisfying if that's what you like to do.
So I guess at the point in your career that you mentioned earlier where you went to Little Black Dress, that's
Yes.
where your path crossed with my dad, which is how I first heard about you and Pow Pots.
Oh,
So,
that's right. Your lovely dad, the lovely John Worley.
so I guess up until this point, you were on, it would be fair to say, a more traditional type career path. You know, there was a kind of set progression in the career that you had. What was going on in life to make you think, okay, I'm going to do a complete shake-up here, get off kind of that career path and start your own thing?
Well, I had a baby. That was the big thing that happened in my life. And that was quite an eye-opener for me, early motherhood. Very different to anything I'd ever done before. I actually grew up in Spain, in Malaga. So I went for my maternity leave. I actually went back there for a few months, which was lovely. Wow. My daughter Beatrix was born in July, so it was kind of nice summertime.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and so I had a lovely few months to acclimatise to motherhood, and although I loved it, for me I felt I wanted to be doing something else. But what it really gave me a chance to do, even despite being tired and worn out and having quite a foggy new mum brain, but it just gave me a chance to stop thinking about work and stop thinking really. And off the back of that, and from just looking on Instagram, and these new ideas just came out of nowhere that probably if I just carried on working, I wouldn't have ever got round to. I've always wanted to launch my own business. I've always wanted to. Based on
what's giving you that drive?
Well, probably my parents, actually. My dad was very much, he always had his own business. We moved to Spain when I was 8 years old, and they had a property company and estate agency in Spain. So I've always watched them and watched him work and been very inspired by him. And he always took risks, and he had so much energy, and so probably it came from there. And sadly, I lost my dad 6 weeks before my daughter was born. He'd been unwell for a while, and it was the best thing for him because he wasn't well. But I think that also probably spurred me on more to think, hey, life isn't forever, and take some inspiration from my dad and just do it. So having the time to sort of do a bit of research, I actually was researching about a flower shop. Not that I know anything about flowers, but that's what I was looking for. And via that, I mean, I've always liked plants. It just came to me that there's loads of nice plants, tropical plants coming through in the UK, but plant pots are sadly lagging behind. There was just nothing different out there.
Just the old traditional ceramic.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what? There are plant pots, but they're nothing very special. And yeah, the terracotta plant pots are beautiful, but outside of that, it's pretty humdrum. Black, white, or just some very off the factory floor kind of mass produced ceramic types. So I'm not a trained artist per se by any means. I mean, I've always liked being creative, shall we say. I just looked at this and I thought, this can't be that difficult, and it also can't be that expensive to set up. That was another thing that was important to me. I didn't want to start a business that I started off massively in debt. And so I just started looking from there and found, obviously it was always harder than I thought it was going to be. And it took quite a lot of trial and error, from the paints I used to finding the right pots to, I'm a year and a half in and I'm still learning to this day. But yeah, it was something. And also from doing so I was very lucky in having many years of journalism experience. I had contacts in the industry, and a very good friend of mine, Michelle Redmond from Minx PR, she helped me out, and designers I've met, also good friends helped me out. So I was very lucky to have a lot of support to help me on the marketing element. And then of course I did my 6 years at Little Black Dress, which was growing an e-commerce startup. And from that I think I learned a lot of more the business acumen that I could also bring into Pow Pots. So altogether, when I launched it just really took off more than I ever really imagined it would.
So when would you say it went from, I guess, either idea or hobby to what you would class a business?
Well, the official date I say for that is when I launched my website, which was the start of October 2018.
Okay.
Previous to that, I probably started scratching around maybe April, May time. So I really spent that summer doing a bit of research. You know, we're lucky with the internet, doing online research, phoning people, practicing painting. And then when I launched my website, that was it. I started selling, and then I started selling to shops as well. That was another kind of key part of my whole marketing for it, because I thought even though you sell to shops for a much lower price than you do to a customer, it would be a way of almost getting free or paid for marketing and getting the brand out there, and that has worked very, very effectively for me.
Okay. Well, when I see photos and I look at your Instagram, which is quite addictive to look at, anyone that comes to it for the first time would kind of just presume that this is, you know, a family business maybe, or a business that has been running for years, and that you have complete sense of what you're doing and it's been around for a long time. But, you know, obviously it's so new and so fresh. How do you actually make the pots?
So you could the pots. So I do two sets at the moment, two different ranges. My larger pots, which are made out of something called fibre clay. So they have a fibre mesh, and then they're made with clay. So they're very eco-friendly in terms of how they're made, because they're not oven baked like other pots, and it also means they're a lovely surface to paint on. They have other benefits in the plant world in that they're much lighter than a terracotta pot, and that the material is breathable, so it helps the plants and the soil breathe. But yeah, from my perspective, it's the perfect surface to paint. It gives a lovely finish. So that's where I started off, and those pots come in 4 different sizes, and they can be used inside or outside. And then after that, quite quickly, actually, I kind of realised that there's a demand for a smaller plant pot as well. And that's when I brought out my concrete pots. And again, it's just me, you know, from people I met and finding the right contacts and finding the right pots. And again, testing that they would hold the paint. And those concrete pots have been a massive success.
And you're still personally hand painting every pot?
Not every pot. It was a bit of a shift. So last year, yes. And by the summertime, I got extremely busy. And as I said before, I had my daughter. So for me, this is it's always getting a balance right. It's probably every mum would tell you, between, you know, having that time with your child and growing a business. So by last summer, I was literally working all hours, picking her up from childcare, bringing her home, putting to bed, painting more. And it just got a bit much doing it from home, and it got a bit much painting them all. So at the start of December, I've got a studio space in a lovely shop just opposite my flat in Manchester. And that has been an enormous game changer, and saved a lot of time of shifting pots from here to there, and you know, just having a bit of sense of organisation about my home again.
Did you have a little moment where you started for the first day there and thought, oh wow, this is happening?
What, at the studio and shop?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the most beautiful space. It's an old, I don't even know, is it Edwardian, or it's an old Victorian or Edwardian pub and hotel that Lawrence, who owns it, it's called In Situ, has had for many years and converted it. And he sells architectural salvage and beautiful mid-century furniture. And I've got a corner upstairs. It's got beautiful windows, and I'm in a shop, which is amazing. So I get passing trade from that, and I get to meet fantastic people. So it was nice getting out of home for that too. You know, really interesting people that come in the shop looking for you know, one-off items or my pots. And then at the same time, I've also got a girl helping me called Roz, and she's fantastic. So it's on an ad hoc basis, but I am, gradually building it up and getting help from her, which is giving me more time it's time to come up with new designs and new products, really.
Do you get, what kind of percentage of your business is requests versus they're all straight from you?
Predominantly, it's what's on my website. That said, this morning a gentleman phoned me, and he has a place in the States, and he wanted a pot, like a particular something he'd seen on a cup. So I'm happily doing that for him. And occasionally I also do get requests for like initials or names, if it's for like a new baby or for a wedding gift. But as a general rule of thumb, it's I offer about 10 different patterns in about 10 different colours, and people choose the pattern they want, the size of the pot they want, and the colour, and that's what I do. But I am open to bespoke colours, particularly, and yeah, if someone's got a design in mind, they're more than welcome to come to me, and I will do the best I can.
So when you're coming up with your designs, where does your inspiration come from?
Oh, do you know what? It's a lifetime of love, pattern and colour. I've always loved kind of simple patterns, graphic patterns, symmetry, simple colours, nice bright colours. So my first collection, as I call it, of pots, my classic pots. I mean, my sunny design, that came, I've got some crockery from Habitat from I don't know when, and that was inspired me for that, which is like a half circle kind of pattern in yellow. Where else? See, I
guess if you picked up some inspiration on your travels.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, even just road signs. I love anything that's just really simple and bright colours. So actually road signs have probably inspired my most popular design, which is the Ziggy. And then with my travels, yeah, definitely. I mean, growing up in Spain, I've always loved tiles, or azulejos as they're called there. They've got a big Moorish influence. So again, It's that kind of symmetrical, quite simple patterns. We went to Morocco last year, to Marrakesh, went to a fantastic tile shop called Popham Design, which do like a modern take on like the old Moroccan tile. So that was a massive inspiration. And I've got loads of places on my travel hit list where I want to go for more inspiration, like Mexico and Miami and India. And but yeah, I would say it's a real mix. I mean, I've only done 2, but I've still got a load more that I want to do. One lot of pots is my cocktail collection, and they've been inspired by cocktails. So I've got a gin and tonic, which is like the half of the pot is a lovely soft grey representing the gin, and then the top half is a row of half moons in yellow, which is your lemon slice that you put in the gin. Wow. Or I've got a pina colada. Again, we've got yellow at the bottom and with green triangles at the top. And I've got a whole more load of cocktails I want to do, and I want to do a coastal collection. The sea, we've got a camper van and we go surfing and for like weekends away in our van on the beach, and that's another massive influence to me. So I definitely want to do something with those colours of the sea and sky, and that kind of feel and look, and in pastels. Okay. So yeah, really everything. And it's hard now not to look at something and get inspired by it.
And I guess you've got, when anyone looks at the pots, they'll see you've got a real love for colour. Yes,
I think so. And I could go on, and I had to be quite restrained actually. But my initial collection, I just did in 6 colours because I didn't want to overwhelm people in different colours either. But as the year went on, I did some pots, some exclusive pots with a luxury florist called Frog, who was selling in Selfridges in Trafford. So my pots are in Selfridges in the Trafford Centre, which is fantastic. And for him, I did an exclusive colour palette that we tweak every season. And also for certain, I'm in a plant shop in Glasgow, for instance, and they wanted a particular blue, a Farrow & Ball blue for their customers that matched so it's kind of grown. So there are a lot more colours, or I follow kind of trends like Pantone colour of the year. Last year was a beautiful coral, so I brought that in. But gosh, yeah, I think colour, the main point I want to do with my pots is just bring joy into people's homes and lives. I want people to look at them and it make them feel happy. And I think colour is a great way of doing that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, simple goal.
I think actually that's what has made Pow Pots for me such a joy, and probably has helped me make it a success. And that the whole thing is quite simple. Haven't been bogged down in the detail. It's very clean. It's very simple, from the patterns to the business model to what I'm trying to achieve. And I think when you've got that, it can really help you stay focused and and a clear message of what you want to do.
So what is it you're looking to achieve next? What's the next steps?
Oh, so many things on that list. Well, first up, I'm doing some new designs. They're going to be out by hopefully the end of this month is the plan. Okay. Then I've got some new products in the pipeline. So I'm going to be doing some accessories. I'm going to launch saucers to go with the pots. I'm going to launch plant stands that you can match the colours of the plant stand to the pot. I'm going to be launching some wall plates. So for people who likes the pots, and who knows, maybe even flowers, plants, don't know. I've got a book in the pipeline in my mind. So there's all sorts of things I'd like to do that could spin off from this. It's just finding the time and again getting that balance right with motherhood.
So I saw a post that was put on your Instagram the other day of a little, I guess like a retro van.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
It looks fantastic.
That is an Irish guy, or Northern Irish, Mr. Monstera, Michael. And I met him. He just phoned me up out the blue and was like, "Oh, Natalie, we really like your pots. We're about to do this van. And we're going to be doing markets and stuff." And I was like, well, I will happily sell you some pots. I'd absolutely love to be involved. I don't know how I'm going to get them to Northern Ireland for, cost effectively. This has been a big learning curve, sending these pots out. And he was like, oh, do you know what? I'm in London and I'm driving up to Wales, wherever, to get the ferry. Is there any chance? What have you got? Can I just pick up what you've got? So I wasn't even there, and I just boxed up everything I had, from pots in my home to everything. And he came and he got them. And that's how I started with Mr. Monstera. Then it was a few months till they were finishing off that van, and I think they haven't been out in it that much yet, but they got it in France. It's an old Peugeot van or something, and they had it all retrofitted to be this amazing plant mobile on wheels. And and as I say, so this spring, summer, he's going to be going out to various festivals and markets in his van and selling plants from it.
Wow.
In a very cool way.
So I guess, as we've mentioned, you started a family around the time that Pow Pots started. What are some of the challenges and hopefully rewards that's produced?
Well, challenges are, I think, the minute you become a parent, time becomes a commodity. Right. So whereas before I would, quite happily take work home and work into the evening and that kind of stuff. Oh, God, it all just changes when you've got baby. 5 o'clock, when she comes home, that's it, So it's really, the big challenge for me is just organising the time and just spending my time as wisely as possible on the right things of the business, on the priorities in terms of the business side of it. And then obviously until B has to go to school, I just want to spend time with her. So it does have benefits, and it's lovely having the freedom to do both. But it's just always in the back of your mind getting that balance right. So the freedom's the positive, and probably, just managing your time right is the challenge.
Is she of any influence to you in your pots? Has anything that she does across her life inspired you with your pots at all?
I mean, I certainly want to. Another thing in the pipeline this year is I'm going to do some pots that are for children that could make a lovely, new baby present, which again will be very simple. And that probably has come from inspiration from certain things. B had some lovely bibs with animal faces on. I thought that would look great on a plant pot. So probably visually there are elements that, I couldn't describe exactly, but probably have subconsciously influenced me. She's very good, and I'm very lucky. She can come in my studio with me, and she's good as gold. And she's got her little pots that she paints up.
No way.
To keep her out of trouble for a bit. Yeah, so yeah.
Is she showing any of the same flair?
Oh yeah, she always wants to paint the pot, but she always wants the real paint. I'm like, no, you're having your crayons. So we always have that debate.
It's probably, I guess, today there's always that fear that you look around and you see children glued to screens of phones and televisions and iPads. It's probably, I guess, is it quite a nice thing to be able to do that doesn't involve technology necessarily? Yeah,
absolutely. For me and for B. I've always worked in jobs which I've been on my computer most of the day. And now, apart from Instagram and updating my website and emailing a few customers, it's absolutely lovely to get away from that and do something manual. Although it can be quite hard work. I sometimes wonder if I'd not been better if I dealt with a smaller product, because some of my pots go up to like 50 centimetres diameter. My blocks of concrete, when they come in a box, weigh 27 kilos. So yeah, it's quite a lot of humping and lumping big pots about. But yeah, in terms of the painting element, it's really lovely. And it's a lovely balance to be able to do that for a few days a week and then, mix it up with a little bit of computer work. It's a really, really nice balance. And same for B. It's nice getting her to do something that's not looking at a screen.
So Here on our podcast, we get each one of the 8 to tell us about something that has inspired them. It can be a person, a place, or even an experience. So who or what has inspired you?
My dad was a big inspiration for me to go out and do this. As I say, he moved his family abroad to start a new life, a new business. He travelled a lot. He took risks. And I think, that's really carried with me. And as I said, when I lost him, it hit home even more. And I think that he's, on a hard day, when I think, do I do this? And I think, would Dad have done this? And yeah, I probably would. And I just go for it. So he's been a massive influence, definitely.
Okay.
Do you want any other
inspiration? I mean, you clearly get inspired by lots of things. Go ahead.
Well, it's difficult. Yeah, that's what I mean, to say it's one thing. My favourite place in the world, I would say, which also has been an inspiration, and who knows, me and my partner, we've always got the dream of moving here, and I think the Pow Pots would do brilliantly there. It's a little surfing town on the Atlantic coast of Spain called Tarifa.
Okay.
And you're right near Africa there. So I think it is literally 10 miles or 10 kilometres across the Strait of Gibraltar, and you've got Morocco there and the fabulous Atlas Mountains. So it's a real kind of melting pot of different cultures, and it's got this lovely surfy vibe, and it's got the most amazing white sands and green pine forests. Wow. And like turquoise seas, and then you've got Africa and the Atlas Mountains and looming ahead. And it's got a bit of a hippie vibe. I mean, it's changed a lot over the years. It's it's quite remote, I suppose. It's nothing like the developed Costa del Sol. It's on the Atlantic. The weather's much wilder. It's windier. It's actually the windsurfing and kite surfing capital of Europe. So it does get windy and wild, but it's just the most beautiful place. And I think, I've been going there since I was a child, and I suppose it's my happy place. And when I'm there, just the colours and how I feel, and I suppose feeling relaxed really helps me to be inspired about what to do in the future and what to do on a day-to-day and with my business and designs and everything. So I would say that is definitely a big inspiration to me in my life in general.
There are almost 8 billion people on our planet, and Nathalie Gibbins is one of the 8. You can find a link to Nathalie's business Pow Pots and discover more about her journey online at oneofthe8.com. Everyone has a story to share. Everyone has something to give. Everyone can inspire. One of the 8 is a movement of real-world people from across the globe, sharing real-life stories, inspiring others, enriching lives, and giving something back. I am, you are, everyone is one of the 8. Now streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Join the movement at oneofthe8.com.